Get ready for a wild ride through the craziest weapons of World War II. From anti-tank dogs to bat bombs, these bizarre inventions sound like something out of a science fiction novel. So, fasten your seatbelts and join us as we take a closer look at these weird and wonderful weapons that were dreamed up by military minds. From the comical to the downright dangerous, this video will take you on a wild ride through the strange world of wartime weapons. 1. Soviet anti-tank dog. During World War II, the Soviet Union came up with a novel idea to try to destroy German tanks using trained dogs. The Soviet anti-tank dogs, also known as dog mines, were dogs that were trained to run underneath German tanks with explosives strapped to their backs. The idea was that the dog would run under the tank and the bomb would detonate, disabling or destroying the tank. The dogs were specially trained to run towards tanks, ignoring other distractions like gunfire and explosions. They were conditioned to associate food with the sound of tanks moving, so when they heard tanks, they would run towards them expecting to be fed. During the training process, the dogs were taught to run under tanks and detonate the bombs. However, in battle, the dogs could not differentiate between enemy and friendly tanks. As a result, they often ran under Soviet tanks and detonated their bombs, causing harm to their own side. The Soviet Union's use of dogs as weapons was a catastrophic failure and is a testament to the cruel nature of war. 2. The German Krummlauf. The German Krummlauf was an experimental attachment for the Sturmgewehr 44 assault rifle during World War II. The Krummlauf's design featured a curved barrel, which allowed for the shooter to fire around corners without exposing themselves to enemy fire. The Krummlauf was intended to be used in urban warfare, where fighting often took place in close quarters and where soldiers needed to be able to shoot at the enemy without being in their direct line of sight. The curved barrel posed significant technical challenges as it interfered with the bullet's trajectory and accuracy, reducing its range and velocity. Additionally, the Krummlauf barrel was prone to overheating, making it less reliable in extended use. Despite its technical issues, the Krummlauf was considered an innovative weapon for its time, and its concept paved the way for later developments in firearm design. However, due to its impracticality and limited success in combat, the Krummlauf was ultimately phased out and discontinued after the war. Today, the Krummlauf is considered a rare and unusual weapon, a relic of a bygone era of experimental and unconventional weapons design. 3. The bat bomb. The bat bomb was a World War II experimental weapon developed by the United States to fight the Japanese. The idea behind the bat bomb was to use bats as flying incendiary devices. The plan was to release large numbers of bats, each carrying a small incendiary device, over Japanese cities. The bats would then roost in buildings made of wood and paper, common in Japan, before their bombs detonated, causing widespread fires. The project began in 1942 and was led by Dr. Lytle S. Adams, a dentist from Pennsylvania who was a friend of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. The project was supported by the military, and a number of Mexican free-tailed bats were captured and brought to the United States for testing. The bat bomb's design was simple. Each bat was to be fitted with a small incendiary device, which would be attached to its chest. The bats would then be placed in a bomb casing, which would be dropped from an aircraft over the target area. The casing would open in mid-air, and the bats would be released to fly towards their targets. Despite successful tests, the bat bomb project was ultimately cancelled. The development of the atomic bomb made the project seem unnecessary, and there were concerns about the feasibility of the bat bomb's deployment. In addition, the project had a number of logistical problems, including issues with bat hibernation and the inability to train the bats quickly enough. Today, the bat bomb is considered a bizarre and little-known episode in the history of weapons development during World War II. While it was never used in combat, it remains a unique and unconventional idea for warfare. 4. The Japanese balloon bombs. Japanese balloon bombs, also known as the Fugo balloons, were a series of balloon bombs launched by Japan during World War II. The idea behind the balloon bombs was to create a weapon that could cause damage and panic on the west coast of the United States. The Japanese hoped that the balloons would start forest fires, damage infrastructure, and create a general sense of fear and unease among the American public. The balloons were constructed out of paper and were about 33 feet in diameter. They were filled with hydrogen gas and were equipped with sandbags, ballast, and a small incendiary device. The balloons were launched from Japan and carried by the jet stream across the Pacific Ocean to North America. The first balloons were launched in late 1944 and the program continued until April 1945. Although the balloon bombs did not cause significant damage, they did have some success. It is estimated that around 300 balloon bombs made it to North America, with some landing as far east as Michigan. The balloons caused several forest fires in the western United States, and one balloon caused the deaths of 6 civilians in Oregon when they attempted to move the unexploded bomb. The Japanese balloon bomb program was eventually discontinued due to its lack of success and the increasing difficulty of launching the balloons from Japan. Nonetheless, the program remains an interesting and unusual aspect of World War II history, representing an early example of intercontinental warfare and the use of unmanned weapons. 5. Project Habakkuk. This was a top-secret project developed by the British during World War II to create an unsinkable aircraft carrier made out of ice. The project was named after the biblical prophet Habakkuk. The idea behind Project Habakkuk was to create a carrier that would be able to patrol the North Atlantic and provide air support to the convoys that were transporting supplies to the Allied forces in Europe. The carrier would be made of a substance called pykrete, which was a mixture of ice and wood pulp. The use of pykrete was based on the fact that it had a much lower melting point than regular ice, making it much more resistant to the heat of the sun and enemy fire. The proposed carrier was estimated to be 2,000 feet long, 300 feet wide, and able to hold up to 150 planes. The project faced several challenges, including finding a way to manufacture the pykrete in large quantities and transporting it to the North Atlantic. Additionally, the project was expensive and required a significant amount of resources at a time when the war effort was already straining the British economy. Ultimately, the project was abandoned before it could be completed. Despite the failure of Project Habakkuk, it remains an interesting example of the innovative thinking and problem-solving that was employed during World War II. As we've seen, World War II was a time of incredible innovation and technological advancement, but not all ideas were successful. From anti-tank dogs to bat bombs, and the Krumlauf, the bizarre weapons of the war show that sometimes even the most unusual ideas are worth exploring in the pursuit of victory. As we look back on these bizarre weapons today, it's important to remember the human cost of war and the impact it has on individuals and societies. We can learn from the past and continue to strive for peace and understanding in the present and future. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the strangest and most bizarre weapons of World War II. See you soon.